there and it has to be there. Without justice, we devolve into anarchy and disorganization. We've seen some of that. We've seen some of that on our streets recently across the country. And we have a statue in front of the Forsyth County Courthouse, the new Forsyth County Courthouse, that is the statue of Lady Justice, and she's holding the scales of justice in her hand and the sword of justice in her other hand. And I think it's very important for the people who are coming into the courthouse every day, who are seeking justice, to see that symbol out in front of the courthouse. And I hope it gives them some idea or some comfort in knowing that when they come into the courthouse and when they come into the courtroom, that there is going to be justice for them, that they're going to be able to get justice in whatever case that they are in. Now, as a trial judge, I mete out justice every day. It is a very humbling experience. I will tell you that when I am faced with a very difficult decision, that I have to come into chambers and really contemplate which way to go and what to do, and what justice demands in any particular case. So it is a very humbling experience to go through. Been doing it a long time, but it always it never gets easier. There's always something new. There's always a different case, a different kind of case, that it presents so many challenges in every way in trying to mete out justice. When we think about justice and how important it is, we have to go back to some of the bedrock grounding principles of faith that we have all of. And the first case that I think ever happened in the world was a famous murder case. We know it as the story of Cain and Abel. And if you will recall, Cain slew his brother Abel, and then there was a trial. God was the judge, and he judged Cain guilty of murdering his brother. And then God meted out punishment. He sentenced Cain, and he told Cain that you're now cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. And when thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shalt thou be in the earth. So we know that Cain, and Cain even said to the Lord, my punishment is greater than I can bear. And so we see that murder was dealt with harshly in the very first case that's ever recorded in human history. We know that when Moses was handed the Ten Commandments, one of them was thou shalt not kill. Of course, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery, and thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. All these are concepts that have been brought down through history and are present in our statutes and our governing laws today in our society. It's built on a common foundation. The other famous case that you probably all know about in biblical history is the case of the child custody case, where King Solomon was the judge, and he decided about this case where the two women were fighting over the custody of the living child, and they had two children the night before, and one child was dead, and then of course they were both claiming the living child. And you all know what King Solomon did in his judgment and his wisdom. He made that judgment, and then of course all of Israel, he became renowned for his wisdom in making that judgment in that child custody case. So, it's very, very familiar, child custody cases. I have them all the time. I deal with those kind of issues all the time. So, we see the most serious of cases, the murder cases, those kind of cases that are the most serious, that um, pull at the heartstrings that are so devastating to families. And we see this splashed on the news every night about some horrific act that's occurred. And I know the country is reeling over what happened to George Floyd. And, the world is crying out for justice in that situation, because we can all see the injustice of what happened to George Floyd, and how that we want justice to be brought to bear in that particular case, so that the bad actors are brought to justice. And, I have every firm belief that our justice system will work. Now, the wheels of justice do turn slowly, and I think a lot of the people get impatient about wanting to see justice now. But we have to follow the rule of law. We have to follow all the procedures, the due process procedures. Everyone is presumed innocent until proven guilty. And so the people have to be patient and wait, and justice will come in due time. We know that God is very concerned about justice. He wants justice in the world. One of my favorite verses is Micah chapter 6, verse 8, where it says, "He has showed thee, O man, what is good, and what doth the Lord require of thee, but to do justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God." And so we know that God is so concerned about justice in the world, and He just so we know that judges were appointed. Some of the first judges were appointed by Moses, as a matter of fact, to give him some relief. He had been judging the people day and night, and he was wearing out, and so he decided to appoint some judges, and then of course the judges in the Bible, Samuel was the last judge, and he judged Israel all the days of his life. And then of course Israel asked for a king, and then we see that Solomon was the king who asked God for wisdom, and he asked God to give him an understanding heart to judge the people, that he may discern between good and bad, and who is able to judge this thy so great a people. Sometimes I feel the weight and burden of that responsibility most every day in the cases that come before me in this circuit. And so we have a tremendous responsibility to do justice every day. I feel that responsibility, and I hope that anybody who comes into the courthouse knows that when they sit in the courtroom, they see the person in the black robe, that there's going to be a day of justice, that they're going to get their day in court, and that justice will be meted out. So all I can tell you is it's such an important concept that the whole world wants, and we see that playing out across the world in our world today. So thank you all for listening, and I hope everyone has a good. I'm looking forward to hearing all the rest of the presentations this evening. Thank you.